In this video, I'm going to show you how to build this Apple-inspired UI animation using Apple Motion. And of course, if you're a Patreon member, you can download the finished project with a whole bunch of extra bells and whistles and use it inside your videos right now. For this video, we are going to select the Final Cut title from the project browser. I'm going to work in a 4K project at a frame rate of 2997 and a duration of 10 seconds. From there, we'll push open. The first thing I'm going to do is delete the type text here in title background layers. Then we're going to go over to the generators and we're going to locate the gradient generator. I'm just going to simply drag that into this group. Let's rename this group to be the background group. Then from there, I'm going to select that gradient. We'll go to the inspector and we'll expand the gradient settings. I first want to change it to a radial gradient. Then I'm going to come down to the arrow tool and there's this little down arrow. We'll just select adjust item. After that, I'm going to click and drag to expand that out to kind of fill the entire space. From there, we can actually change the colors. So I'm going to select the blue color and we'll just drop this down and I might go just a little bit more gray with it. This is going to be completely up to your own personal taste. And then we'll do the exact same thing for the center. And there we go. That's kind of the gradient that I am wanting. Once you're happy with this gradient, we can go over to the library under generators and locate the grid generator. I'm going to apply this into that background group and then we'll go into the inspector. And from there, I'm going to increase the background width and height to their full potential, which is 200. Actually, you can go beyond that if you click and drag, but 200 is looking pretty good. And then after that, I'm going to take the background opacity and drag that down to 0%. I want these backgrounds to be consistently animated. So we're going to come up to the offset controls. We'll click this down arrow, we'll add a parameter behavior, and we're going to select rate. The rate parameter continuously adds a value to a given parameter, which slowly animates it over time. So each frame that value increases, making it have an animation. We're going to set this to a very low value though, of 0.03. The reason it's so low is because if we go up to 1, you can see just how insane that is. I don't know why that is. It really needs to be adjusted. 0.03 gets us to the right spot. After that, we'll go to the properties and find the blend mode. And I'm going to change this over to overlay. So it's softening it up here on our background. And we can drop the opacity on that as well. And then I really like how it looks when it's going up at an angle. Let's just increase the scale a bit and then we can rotate it about 7 degrees. And so now pushing play, we should have this nice soft animation of our background gradient. Now that we have the background in place, we can jump to the next step, which is building the app updates window, which is heavily inspired by Apple. We're going to collapse our background group, right click, create a new group. This is going to be the app updates window. From there, we're going to grab our trusty rectangle tool. And I'm just going to click and drag to create a basic rectangle shape. And it can be whatever size and dimensions you like. You can, of course, offset this after the fact. But for this, I kind of recommend a more narrow version. Then we're going to come over to the position parameter, right click and reset it so it's right in the middle. After that, we'll jump into the shape settings where we can get super fancy. And we'll go over to the geometry tab and drag the roundness all the way up to 50. Now that we have that in place, let's go to the style settings and we are going to change this over to a gradient. Apparently, I'm really into gradients right now. We're going to find the arrow tool, clicking that down arrow, and we're going to adjust item and just stretch this gradient out so that dark side is giving us a nice shadow on the bottom. The light side's up here at the top. And then we can twirl down the gradient and change the colors to our liking. Again, this is going to come to your own personal preferences. I'm kind of going for a dark mode, very gray here, but again, that's going to be up to you. And that gradient is looking quite nice to me. Now, I want this rectangle to really pop off the background, and I want to add a kind of a nice simple glow. We could get a bunch of fancy filters to do that, or we can just select our rectangle, go to properties, find the drop shadow parameter. We'll press show on that and we could just change this to a nice bright color and then drag up the blur amount. And now we have this nice glow. So I can just kind of push this over to a blue color, really increase that blur and then drop the opacity down. So it's very subtle. And I think that looks super cool. It's a great way to get it to pop off the page. But another thing you'll notice with a lot of Apple icons, especially as of late, there's kind of a three-dimensional edge to it. So if we wanted to add that three-dimensional edge to this object, we can simply select our rectangle, go up to Filters, go to Stylize, and then we're going to select the Indent effect. And now that's kind of washed out the gradient we added, so we need to get that gradient back. So we'll come in here, we can adjust all sorts of settings like the softness and brightness, but I also found that by adjusting the highlight sharpness value, we can use that to get back most of the color that we had previously. I'll increase the highlight brightness and play around with the ambient settings. You do have to be careful that you don't go too far, but I really love that shiny edge we get here on this object. You can also adjust the light rotation, so if you want it to be lit from a different angle, you can do that with this particular effect. Now that we have that, I am feeling really good about this app updates window. Let's go ahead and add in some text. We'll get our text tool, and we can just type in app updates. Over here on the left side, you're going to want to make sure you're using the SF Pro font if you are trying to emulate Apple. That is the same font that they use. It's a free download online, so if you don't have it, just Google it real quick and you'll find it. After that, I'm going to set this over to the ultra light preset, and that is looking great. And we could even scale it down maybe a little bit. From there, we're going to get our arrow transform tool, and we'll want to make sure that the alignment is centered. And then I'll just drag this into the middle of our project. If you don't have snapping enabled, you can do that with N. Excellent, we have our window here. It's time to move on to the next phase, which is adding in an app icon as well as an update button. But really quick, if you're enjoying this video, maybe consider press the like button so more people can find it, and also consider subscribing to help me reach 100,000 subscribers. That would mean so much to me. Let's get back to it. To pull this off, let's first collapse the app updates window for right now. Right click, create a new group, and this is going to be the app icons and update button group. I'm getting really fancy with these group names. From there, we can push Command-I to import and locate the logo we want to update with. So we've got the Final Cut Pro logo, and I'll push import. And taking a look here, you can see how we've got that kind of 3D edge that I was talking about earlier on our app updates window. Jumping over to properties, I'm going to scale this down to about 40%. I found that that works really well with this particular animation. And we can just drag it roughly into the position. You can, of course, always change its update position, but that's looking pretty good to me right now. Next, I want to add in what this app is, and so we can grab our text tool, and we're just going to type in Final Cut Pro version 12.3. And then we can come over here to the left side and select just the text we want to edit. Let's adjust the scale on that. And then on the Final Cut Pro line, I actually want to change this to be more of a medium font. And there we go, that's looking pretty great. We can drag this roughly into the position of where we want it. Now let's go ahead and add in our update button. Once again, we'll grab our trusty rectangle tool and create a basic rectangle here. And you'll just want to get it roughly to the size and scale of what you want for your update button. After that, we'll go to the geometry settings and drag up the roundness. You definitely don't want to go too far, otherwise you're going to have just a pill. Balance that out, that's looking pretty good. Then we go back to the style, go to the color and change it to a gradient. And in here, in our gradient settings, we can adjust it to the right color of blue that we are after. This is once again going to come up completely to your own taste and preferences. I'm kind of liking how this is looking. And we're going to further enhance it by adding in a glow filter. To do that, we're going to select that rectangle and let's just label it as Update Background. From there, we'll go up to our filters. We're going to go down to glow and we're going to select the neon filter. And maybe that's a little bit too much. Let's increase the outer glow quite a bit and then back it off with the mix slider. And I love that. I feel like that adds a lot of punch to the button in just a single effect. So the neon effect is super fun for this. I'm just going to continue on by adding in our update text. Let's get our text tool once again and we'll just type in update. And I'm going to set that to a bold font. I found that that fits really well for this particular theme. And let's also set the alignment to be centered, and then we'll just drag it into the middle of our button. And there we go. We have a nice little update button there. Now, every time I move this update text, I want that button to go with it. So let's just simply throw those into their own group. We'll right click on them, select group, and we can just call this update button. And now it's just a lot easier to move them around. At this point, you're going to want to go in and balance out your image. This is going to be the final state of all of your animations, so just kind of move everything around, get it to a place where you're really happy with the balance of everything. And once you are happy, you can move on to the next step, which is animating it. What I personally like to do is start from the back and move forward. What I mean by that is starting from the background to the foreground is kind of my workflow. So let's go ahead and hide all of the other on-screen elements and start with this app window. We'll expand that out and you'll see the rectangle here. We're going to jump into the geometry settings and expand out the size parameter. Now I'm just going to use basic keyframes for this, but you can get fancy with parameter behaviors and everything if you want to. So to do this, let's go to the very first frame. And actually I'm going to move forward about where I want the animation to end. So let's say 20 frames in and add a keyframe. We'll move back to the first frame and then we'll just drag that width to 0. So we've now just created a basic width animation. We of course want this to look way fancier than it does currently. It's very rigid and linear. So we're going to need to open up our keyframe editor, which is found with these 3 diamonds, and you'll see our animation right here. Let's just click and drag over both the keyframes, right click, go to interpolation and set it to Bezier. Now, if I click and drag over one of these keyframes, I can hold shift and drag this out and create a really sharp curve. And if we do that for both of these, it's going to give us this really dynamic animation. So see how that is just so much better than the previous animation that it had. Now that we have our app window appearing, we can animate it in the text. Let's do that by selecting the app updates, and we can go up to behaviors. We'll go to text basic, and I'll just select arrange in. You can choose any of the variations that you like or build your own. From there, I'm going to offset this just a few frames and pushing play. Now we have our app updates kind of drifting in, which looks nice. And we could shorten up that arrange in animation, make it a little bit faster. We have our app window animated. Let's jump to the icon. Going to collapse the app updates window and let's select the Final Cut Pro logo. And actually we'll want to make sure visibility is checked for that. Now with the Final Cut Pro logo, we'll just select that, make sure we're in our properties inspector and take a look at your scale. Mine's at 40%. You're going to want to take note of the actual scale and we'll click to add a parameter behavior and we're going to select overshoot. Now in the overshoot parameter, we want to negate that 40% value. So I'll just type in negative 40% and that will actually zero out the scale of our object. So it should start from nothing and slowly animate in. Now, obviously this animation is way too slow. So let's go forward about 20 frames or so and push O to trim down that overshoot parameter. And pushing play, we can see that taking place. Now it's way too bouncy for my liking. It looks very elasticy. So let's just change these cycles down to 1. And now pushing play, that is a much more dynamic animation. I also want to offset it a few frames. So I'll just select it and drag it over a couple frames there. I also find that this overshoot parameter is just a little bit too slow, so let's speed that up, and I am loving that. Now we can move on to the actual text that says Final Cut Pro. Let's just simply select the Final Cut Pro text. We'll go up to behaviors. We'll go down to text basic, and for this, I'm going to use blur in. And I, of course, want to offset that a bit, and I really like how that kind of reveals what the update is slowly. And last but not least, we want to animate the actual update button. So to do so, let's select our update text and we're going to build our own custom animation using a text sequencer. I'll select the text, go to behaviors, we'll go into text animation and select sequence text. Over here on the left, we can tell it what parameters we want to animate. I want to animate the position. And I also want to animate the opacity. I'm going to set the opacity to 0%. And you'll notice over here on the right side that it has now faded that text out. That is because we are starting from 0% and then it slowly moves up to a full 100% value. Additionally, I want it to start down low and animate up into position. So we'll find the Y value and set this to a value of -50. And so now pushing play, you can see how each letter is slowly sliding up into position. I also want this animation to be a lot faster. So let's go forward. I find that around 20 frames is feeling pretty good for this project. And let's also, of course, offset this. So that's looking pretty good, but I want them to be a little bit more fluid and together. So we'll select that sequence text and drag up the spread on that. And I also want it to have a nice deceleration to the animation. It starts off really fast and then slows down like it's carrying its momentum to a stop. To do that, we're going to find the speed parameter, change it from constant over to decelerate. And that's already a big improvement, but I want it per letter. We can change the apply speed parameter from once per loop over to per object. Each character of this word is its own object. So now the animation is just a lot more dynamic. I just love how that looks. And the very last aspect we need of this update animation is, of course, the actual button to appear. And we're going to do this just like we did with the app update window. Selecting that rectangle, let's go to the shape parameters. We'll go to geometry, find the size parameter. We'll move to the end of where we want it to land, so somewhere in there, and we'll find the width parameter. We'll click to add a keyframe, then we'll move to the very beginning of the animation, somewhere in there, and set that to 0. So it now slides into place. After that, we want to add that nice dynamic S-curve. So we'll select one keyframe, push Command A to select all of them, right-click, Interpolation, and select Bezier. Now we're just going to create that sharp S-curve by holding Shift and dragging those handles. And so now, pushing play, we have this nice dynamic looking animation. You can, of course, offset this a little bit. Maybe we'll adjust its framing just a little bit there. That is feeling really, really good to me. And I actually moved the entire layer over, so I'm just going to go to the very end and push O. That will extend it out to the end of the project. If you wanted to, you could add in a nice slow camera zoom. It's super easy. Let's just go up to Add Object, Add Camera. We'll go ahead and switch everything to 3D. Then we can go up into our behaviors, go to Camera, select Dolly, and then we can just drag this up. So now we have a nice slow zoom in on our app update window. Now maybe this feels like a whole lot of steps to you. That is why my Patreon is such a cool page, because as a Patreon member, you can download this finished project right now. And I've even gone in and made it so you can swap out the logos, you can swap out what the text says, you can increase the scale of the update window. You can really get it looking exactly as you need for your own personal content. There's links down below. There's over 150 downloads over there. It is really one of the best memberships you can get access to, and it helps in your professional editing life. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me for this video. I hope it was insightful in some way, and if it was, maybe consider liking and subscribing. And with that being said, I cannot wait to see you in the next one.